What do we know when we die? In today's video of Information 01 channel, we explore a topic as profound as whether or not the deceased are aware of their own mortality. The shadow of death looms over us all until immortality can be achieved. Nonetheless, in the 21st century, people have become accustomed to dealing with it squarely. For hundreds of years prior, religion was the only widely practiced means by which people might attempt to make sense of death. However, in recent decades, science has taken the stage. Previously, we just had faith. Now we also have statistics, facts, and research to back up our claims. And the ghost of death has become something else different. Even though there are regional variations, most cultures agree that death occurs when the heart stops beating. However, CPR's track record suggests that it is possible to recover from this particular crisis. The second critical phase occurs when the brain virtually stops receiving oxygen and nutrients. However, scientists believe that there is a little window of time between heart and brain death, anywhere from 2 to 20, possibly 30 seconds, during which you may be aware that you are dead. Near-death experiences typically take shape at this moment, just before a person is revived enough to talk about them. However, it is incredibly challenging to tell just how attentive any one person can be, within that specific, and brief, window. Those who are brought back to life may find meaning in their near-death experience. However, it's hard to tell how much actually sinks in until after your body has experienced the ultimate trauma. You may or may not realize that you are dead. However, several studies have made headlines over the years, sometimes because of the eerie or distressing nature of the trials they conducted to demonstrate that maybe life doesn't end when you die. Not quite, at any rate. Dr. Sam Parnia, a British scientist and prominent figure at New York University's Langone School of Medicine, is often acknowledged as an authority in the topic. Parnia has been at the helm of various investigations on the threshold between life and death in the 21st century. In 2013, after the release of his book, Erasing Death, known as The Lazarus Effect, in the UK, he garnered notoriety for arguing that we should be able to revive the dead for up to 24 hours after they have been declared to be beyond hope. What most people would call a resurrection is technically achievable for Parnia if we apply and improve the science in the right way. If his 24-hour hypothesis is even partially right, though, we might have a lot more time to realize that we are dead, whether or not you agree with it. Parnia also oversees the Human Consciousness Project at Southampton University in the United Kingdom. It was the driving force for the AWARE study, which dove headfirst into the experiences of people who narrowly avoided death after suffering cardiac arrest. In another recent video, we zoomed in for a better look. Parnia is so convinced that death is more than just a single moment that he has previously advocated for the term near-death experience to be changed to actual death experience, which is more in line with his body of work. In addition, Parnia has shown some unorthodox views on the nature of consciousness in general, suggesting that it may not be formed by the brain but merely housed there. All of human life, not just death, might be connected to something beyond our physical selves if this were the case. Sam Parnia, many of his colleagues, and many other independent researchers have taken an approach that forces us to reevaluate our assumptions about what death is and when it occurs. The vast majority of studies suggest that within the first 20 seconds after one's heart stops beating, one may, or will, be able to realize that one is dead. Analysis of NDEs, however, has been taken to suggest that there is more going on than meets the eye. And, if we ever can bring people back to life for hours after their heart has stopped, as Parnia has suggested we should be able to do, then all of a sudden we could live in a world where many people have spent hours or even days dead and gone. Discussions about dying in such abstract terms can naturally lead to existential concerns. Please explain. Exactly where is it, if I may ask? And does it continue on after your physical body has died? Again, theology and philosophy have historically been the go-to sources for soul-related concepts, but contemporary science has taken a keener interest in providing a clear definition. The soul has always defied definition, and this trend has continued throughout the ages. Many people have connected it to concepts like conscience, morality, and a shared sense of right and wrong among all members of a species. Others have tried to give a conclusive explanation for it by looking at it through the lens of life in general, rather than just human existence. The soul, in the broadest sense, can be thought of as a collective essence that shapes people's perspectives on the world. However, that is far too nebulous to satisfy the majority of scientists. And hence, one theory suggests that quantum mechanics could provide a suitable solution to the issue. Sir Roger Penrose, a British physicist, and Stuart Hameroff, an American scientist, developed and published the idea of orchestrated objective reduction, or orchestra or, in the 1990s. The model was then revised in 2014, and its success has continued ever since. Orchestra or is potentially, at its core, one of the most revolutionary and contentious ideas of our time. It proposes that, rather than being the result of neural circuitry, awareness arises from oscillations in the protein filaments known as microtubules found inside neurons. However, if the orchestra or theory is correct, this might imply that awareness survives the death of the physical body indefinitely. In this case, quantum information serves as what might be called the soul. That data is always being processed by our minds and felt by our bodies. However, data remains even after our deaths. To the contrary, it seems to be released. It is still around despite no longer having a home in the brain. Somewhere. Even inside the orchestra or paradigm, the future is unclear. However, proponents of this view argue that there may be connections to bigger concepts of the soul and the afterlife. In light of this, we may have an answer to the question posed in the heading, "How do you know when you're dead?" Possibly. However, as is often the case with beliefs concerning death, perhaps we won't know for sure until we've actually crossed over. From the perspective of orchestra or, it's possible that NDEs are nothing more than a disturbance in the rhythm of our own vibrating microtubules. In a narrow escape, the quantum information they contain is separated from our physical identities. And we make it. Or, at the very least, we maintain our present form. However, there is still more to come, and when the time comes for us to leave our bodies, we will be aware of it. If we go back to the most fundamental, macrophysical aspects of life and death, we could wonder if that information could ever exist as anything resembling a traditional thought or feeling if our brains weren't around to interpret it. Not necessarily. Is there anything you can tell me about this potentially fatal situation? From a scientific point of view, it is clear that finding the solution is still in progress. On the other hand, it may be argued that we have never had a more complete picture of reality. Some people think that thinking about what happens after death is like attempting to recollect what we knew before we were born. It doesn't matter much if life is merely bookended by nothingness on either side. However, for some, this is a topic of intense philosophical and scientific discussion. In conclusion, our knowledge about what we come to understand after death remains uncertain and heavily dependent on one's belief system. Philosophical, religious, and scientific perspectives all contribute to our understanding, suggesting that consciousness, soul, rebirth, near-death experiences, and the limitations of human comprehension play complex roles in shaping our perceptions. The mystery of life after death lies at the forefront of both intellectual curiosity and existential contemplation, and further exploration is necessary to gain deeper insights into this intriguing topic.